there a cure for breast cancer in our future? What are the odds of surviving breast cancer if diagnosed today? And what about this latest news about hormone replacement therapy and breast cancer? We'll have the answers to those questions and more. Plus, we'll find out why so many people walk each year in the 3-day Walks for the Cure when It's Your Call asks, is there a cure for breast cancer? Right now. Hi there, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us as we continue our commitment to raising public awareness about breast cancer. I'm Lynn Doyle, congratulating all the men, women, and children who completed the most recent 3-day walk for breast cancer. In Philadelphia alone, over $5 million was raised as thousands of people walked 60 miles over 3 days. It was just one of more than 24 walks that are held each year to raise money for research and treatment. Myself, I'll be walking in my 5th 3-day this November, this time in San Diego. We're going to have more on that later, but first we want to find out if all of these fundraising events are getting us any closer to finding a cure for breast cancer. To do that, I've brought some great experts to share their knowledge. One of them, an old friend of our show, Dr. Beth Dupree, who is a breast surgeon and the medical director of breast health at Holy Redeemer Health System. That's in Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. We're glad to have her back with us. And joining us is Dr. Kristen Brill, who is the director of the Janet Knowles Breast Cancer Center at Cooper Cancer Institute. Among her professional activities is her membership in the American Society of Breast Surgeons and also with the American Society of Breast Disease and Mammographic Society of Philadelphia. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, Beth, you and I have done these walks. I know Kristen is running for a cure for breast cancer. Are we getting any closer to finding what causes it and how to prevent it?
I think we know a lot of things about what we can do for prevention in terms of diet and lifestyle changes. It's just difficult to make those changes occur on a grander scale. But when it comes to finding a cure, people don't understand that breast cancer is such a diverse group of diseases. It's not like it's just one thing that we're looking at. Tumors have a lot of different things about them, whether they are sensitive to estrogen, whether they are responsive to Herceptin. So we're really working now on finding what we call targeted therapies, and that means to treat the cancers as they come up. But when it comes to finding a cure, I think we still have a lot of work to go. You know, it's interesting that you make that point, that it's not just one thing. We lump it all together as saying breast cancer, particularly during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But it really is a series of different kinds of diseases, and it depends on what you're diagnosed with that determines the outcome. Absolutely. Every woman, when they're diagnosed with cancer, goes through the process of learning how to figure out, how do I best treat this cancer? Because there are no two cancers that are exactly alike. Everybody has to look at the size of the tumor, the size of their breast, the aggressiveness of the tumor, and those are the things that we as breast surgeons, Kristen and I, spend most of our time with our patients individualizing that care so that we can provide them with the best plan for their treatment.
And efforts are also moving toward identifying women who are at risk, who may be at higher risk based on family history, maybe some sort of a gene mutation called BRCA mutation, and also identifying appropriate screening and then follow-up diagnostic imaging for women who have abnormalities or who may be at higher risk. You know, I'm glad that you brought that up, because earlier this year we heard that the screening recommendation had been changed, and it was a big controversy. So let's talk about that a little bit. At one point it said anyone over 40 should be getting these screens. Now they've pushed that back to 50. Is that a good thing, or so is it cause for concern? The standard recommendation was, up until November 2009, is for annual mammograms beginning at the age of 40, really a baseline mammogram between age 35 and 40, and then annually after 40. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force made a recommendation to modify that standard, really looking at beginning annual, well actually biennial screening after 50 and not screening women annually between 40 and 50, and actually ceasing screening at 75. All right, now am I the only one confused by this? Because you just made the point that we're doing more to prevent it, and by screening, finding it earlier. If you're changing the recommendations on when to get screening, women are going to be confused.
Well, those were the task force recommendations. If you look at the American College of Surgeons, the American Society of Breast Surgeons, the American Cancer Society, none of the organizations that those of us that treat cancer have changed our recommendations.
Okay.
Even Health and Human Services, there was a firestorm of responses. It really, to put the information out there, women should continue to do annual mammograms at 40 and beyond.
All right, and how about the age that women should start doing self-breast exams?
I believe that when you have breasts and you need to be aware of them, and this is where the t-shirt I just gave you, the Feel Your Boobies campaign, it's about breast awareness, because Lee Hurst, who founded that foundation, had a lump in her early 30s, but she didn't know that that lump could be cancer. And so her whole idea was, if women become aware of their breasts, not feeling guilt about not doing an exam, you become aware of what your normal breasts look like, what they feel like, and have an awareness. It's that type of an awareness that should begin when you have breasts.
Okay. But it can be confusing because there's information. Again, the task force is not endorsing self-breast exam, and every couple of years there are reports and information that's put into the public, don't do self-breast exam. So the task force is telling women don't do annual mammograms, certainly not between 40 and 50, don't do self-breast exam. Then we're relying really on a clinical breast exam, women getting to see the gynecologist once a year for a breast exam there.
But aren't most lumps discovered by women who have done an exam and found them themselves, or a large majority of it?
Yeah, the challenge is that younger women tend to have more dense breast tissue, and so in a sense have false positives on self-exam, even with a clinical breast exam.
Hey, I'd rather have a false positive, have one of you guys tell me it was nothing, and then at least have checked it out.
That's the whole idea, is they're saying, if you're doing the exams, you may find things that aren't cancer, but you know, I'm very much about empowering our patients. You need to educate them. Most lumps that you feel are not going to be cancer. And understanding that, but knowing that getting validation and finding out what your lump is better to me than saying, you know, be the ostrich and put your head in the sand. Don't ignore it, because 20% of all breast cancers are not found mammographically. And in those cases, we rely on breast exams either done by an individual or by their clinician.
And in those younger women, the rate of not identifying things on mammogram is higher, again, because of dense breast tissue. So my message to patients always is begin self-breast exam. It may not be easy at first. A lot of women have lumpy, challenging breast exam. But once they recognize what's normal for them, they may feel more comfortable. And then if there's some change, you bring it to your doctor's attention.
Okay, that's what we're trying to do here, is to raise awareness and to educate and inform our public. We're going to give you an opportunity here to tell us what you think. Do you have questions for our doctors? They are here. They're graciously willing to answer those questions. If you've recently been diagnosed with breast cancer, we'd like to hear from you. And if you have treatment concerns, we'd also like to know what you think about that and why you are concerned. Finally, this hormone replacement therapy and whether or not you should discontinue it. We're going to talk about that in just a second as well. So if you have any questions at all, we're here to help you. You know how it works. You can go ahead and email me at lynn@lynndoyle.net. You can also find us on Facebook, MySpace, or YouTube. And we are going to talk more extensively about hormone replacement therapy, but that seems to be getting a lot of attention, much like the task force recommendations on changing the age for mammograms did earlier this year. Is this something we should be concerned about?
Well, in 2002, when the Women's Health Initiative presented its data, we knew that there were more breast cancers being diagnosed in those women, but it was thought that they were low grade, less invasive, not as difficult to treat kind of breast cancers. Just today, or yesterday, was released the study of those extended patients who were followed, and what we find is the cancers are higher grade, higher in stage, which means the nodes are involved, and also there was an increased mortality.
Okay.
And this is where you have to say, we're treating symptoms of menopause. We're treating the symptoms with hormone replacement therapy. Do we need to really reevaluate that risk-benefit ratio?
And that's what we're going to do on the other side of the break. I want to know if you're concerned, if you are on hormone replacement therapy, if you're concerned that you could be at risk for breast cancer. We're going to talk about that. But you got to stay with us to find out what the doctors say. We'll be right back. It's Your Call continues. It's breast cancer awareness right after this.